Good morning, everyone. How you guys doing? It's me, your boy Ryan Flowers, aka Clutch Sports Talk, and welcome to another edition of NFL Wake Up. This is Week 5 in the National Football League. We got some early morning action right now. We got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the New York Jets. That game is heading into halftime right about now. The Jets just got a touchdown right now to go into the half, so they are down 17-7 as they make their break to go into halftime. So, but anyway, we got lots to talk about today. We're going to talk about Davante Adams. That's that situation that's taking place here in Las Vegas, what the Raiders need to do, and just some expectations of Davante Adams. Then we're going to go some buy, sell, or hold. I'm going to throw out some names. I'm going to let you guys know my thoughts on some players that maybe you want to buy stock on, sell their stock, or maybe just hold off a little bit and let's see what plays out. And then also I got my power rankings for Week 5, and then we're going to break down all of the games going into today's matchups, and then rounding out the show with my clutch picks of the week. So you guys don't want to miss out. You guys are in the right spot. So listen up, sit down, and suit up. This is NFL Sunday Wake Up with me, Ryan Flowers. Let's go. Welcome back in, everyone. Hope you guys are doing all right. Glorious Sunday morning. It's Week 5 in the National Syracuse game. We fell short, but still battling that. But anyway, the show must go on. We already got some comments in here. We got my boy Patrick Brown. He says, happy NFL Week 5, watching and supporting the best NFL Sunday morning show on YouTube. Appreciate you, man. Thanks and praise to him. Also, check him out on the Grid Network website. You can head on over to my social media or just head over to Grid Network. There's a website there. You can check out all of his great, fantastic articles that he's been producing here in the last couple weeks or so. So shout out to Patrick for that. So, all right. Davante Adams wants out of Las Vegas. Are we surprised? I'm not. And if you are, then I don't know where you've been the last couple months, or at least the last calendar year. You already know. Once Derek Carr was gone, jettisoned out of Las Vegas, you already knew the writing was on the wall. I know a couple of weeks, maybe about a month ago, there were some reports Deshaun Jackson, former wide receiver who did play for the Raiders at one point towards the end of his career, had mentioned that Davante Adams was a little bit upset with the organization and wanted out. Then Davante comes back and says, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even talk to this guy. It's not true. And then earlier this week, he demands or he requests a formal trade out of Las Vegas. Now, is the trade likely? I think it is. Now, the Raiders have up until, I believe, November 4th, November 5th before the trade deadline to get this deal done. But some other things you got to consider. Number one is his salary, right? The Raiders may have to eat some of that, so they have to find a partner that's willing to split some of the costs with him. And on top of that, the compensation. A lot of teams are looking for a second round for this particular player. Seems a little steep. So it depends. It depends on how you look at it, right? There are two teams that have come out to the forefront right now. The Jets are playing right now, and you can definitely see they need some wide receiver help. And then the New Orleans Saints. Now, why those two teams? Listen, Cowboy fans, I'm going to put it out there right now. He's not coming to Dallas, so just stop. All right, I'm tired of seeing this. Oh, he may go to the game. He's not going there. Jerry's not going to pay for him. Number one, I think he's what $13.5 million. If he can't afford Derrick Henry for like $8 million, he's not going to be able to afford Davante Adams at $13 million. So just to stop it, right? Okay. And number one, the other thing, the Cowboys don't. I mean, yes, they do need wide receiver help, but they need a running back as well too. So having Davante Adams just doesn't automatically make their offense any better. So just leave it at that. So anyway, teams interested in New York and the New Orleans Saints. Why? Aaron Rodgers, right? Where Davante had most of his success in the National Football League has come with balls being thrown, by Aaron Rodgers, right? And then why New Orleans? Well, his college quarterback, right? They had a brief little stint here in Las Vegas, didn't really pan out the way people thought it would be. And also, these guys work out with each other every offseason. So there's a relationship, there's a chemistry there. And you know, so those teams are the lead. Ravens probably would be in the mix there, even Pittsburgh, but maybe not so much Pittsburgh because the quarterback play, although it's been okay, but Justin Fields really isn't known to be a prolific passer, so I would probably rule them out. But other than that, those are probably the two top teams right there. Now, again, like these rumors have been surfacing over the last year or so, so we're not surprised. And why should we be? I mean, listen, the Raiders did not spend any type of energy looking, at least from what we can see, at least from what I can see, in trying to go out and get a solid top tier quarterback. They were content in leaving it up to the O'Connell kid or and they brought in Gardner Minshew. So I guess that was their whole. Well, we did bring in a quarterback, but you didn't bring in a really good quarterback, I would say. So, of course, Davante Adams wants out of there because he's not going to be able to get the ball thrown to him properly from the guys that they have there. So that's the Raiders' fault. Okay. Now, Davante Adams, when you look at the teams that he wants to go to, are they in any better situation than the Raiders, right? So you look at the Jets right now. They're trailing. They're trying to come back right now. Um, would it work out going with Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, I think there may be some chemistry issues, and not between him and Aaron. I think just overall in the locker room, you look at guys like a Garrett Wilson, who's like, well, I thought I was the guy, right? I'll tell you right now, if Davante Adams ends up in New York, Garrett Wilson will not be the guy anymore. It's that's a fact, right? But it may bode well for him because maybe perhaps then he'll start to get better opportunities for himself. He won't have to won't have to worry about facing like double coverage, things of that nature, right? Because Davante Adams will garner all of that. And then you look at the Saints. Also, kind of like the Jets in a lame duck situation, you have a head coach that they started off hot. They've kind of tapered off a little bit here, but he's familiar with the quarterback. So that's the common denominator between both the teams is that he has some familiarity with the quarterback play. So do I think they're in a better situation than the Raiders? I do. And the only reason why is because they have better quarterbacks. Like you can easily say that Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers is better than any of the quarterbacks that are on the Raiders roster currently. Okay. So I knew something was up last week when he was a scratch for that Browns game, and they said he had a hamstring problem. Okay. Like we already knew something was happening. And maybe a lot of it transpired after that loss to Carolina, where Antonio Pierce got in front of the podium and told the media, like, guys, we're out there making business decisions. And the internet, they're going to start looking for people. Maybe we overlooked Davante Adams. Maybe something was said in the locker room, maybe leading up to that week against Carolina, or some things during the game of that Carolina Panthers loss. So who knows, right? So, it's all going to boil down to contracts and who is willing to pay this man the money. So like teams that salary cap strapped like Dallas, they can't make a play. A team will probably need a wide receiver. Maybe Buffalo. Maybe Buffalo needs to step up right there, right? Does he want to go play in Buffalo, right? So oh, there we go. Now, is he a really solid player? Yes. I think he's a solid talent. Do I question maybe his what's the word? His willingness to win? Maybe slightly. Yeah, maybe slightly. I mean, I get it. I'm not saying he's not a competitor, and I'm not saying he's a bum. But the situations that he wants to go to me, are not really winning situations and haven't been winning situations in quite some time. So you would think that maybe he would want to go to Baltimore. They just played in the AFC Conference Championship. Looks like they're starting to figure things out there, right? Buffalo has been competitive the last couple of years. So, Pittsburgh, they make the playoffs every year consistently. So, again, I'm not going to just throw out stuff for clickbait. I'm not going to say he's a loser, but maybe he wants what he wants, and I think that's familiarity at this point. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with this guy, but definitely interesting situation. I think he's a scratch today against Denver. Again, they're going to say the hamstring, but they're really just holding him off because he's on the market right now. So I would if something doesn't happen by the end or middle of this week, it's going to happen the following week for sure. He can't stay there any longer because it's already been put out there. So, and good point. My boy Ben Cornette, he says Adams checked out when Derek Carr left. Yeah, I mean, literally, it was done. You can tell. Like, he's a professional in the regard. He's going to show up, but at the end of the day, he was like, "Why am I even here?" The whole reason why I'm here is because I wanted to play at Derek Carr. You guys get rid of him, and now and it's not like you replaced him with anybody better, right? So I don't know. So we got some comments here before we move on. Adam lands in Baltimore. Look out! They already have Derrick Henry, who hasn't lost a step every time. Yep. Oh yeah. I mean, the Ravens are they found their footing for sure. They've definitely found their footing. Um, Jets have more issues in play. Yes, excuse me. That's a key point. Listen, I am not a fan of what the Jets got going on. Number one, Aaron Rodgers to me is a little surly character, right? He literally has the Jets organization by the cojones. I mean, literally, if at this point the Jets need to push everything to the in the middle of the table and just go all in. You got to go out and get Davante Adams because why? You've already empowered Aaron Rodgers so much at this point where you have an OC who really is there just because of Aaron Rodgers. We all think that Nathaniel Hackett is not a great offensive coordinator. The only reason why he was great is because he had Aaron Rodgers, and that's it. We saw the one time he steps away from Aaron Rodgers, go. He's probably going to be on his way out here at the end of the season. So, and that's why for me, if I'm Davante, why would I want to go into that type of situation? But again, maybe he's just really cool with Derek Carr and or Aaron Rodgers, and so he's choosing familiarity over actually winning. And that's his prerogative. Who am I to judge him for that? But it doesn't look good for me. If I'm a fan perspective and I want to see a guy come and win a championship for my club, especially when your club really isn't in the championship form. So, all right, last comment. Yeah, Aaron is trying to get solidified right now. That's a good point. I can see Aaron doing that. So, all right, moving on. We got some buy, sell, or hold here. Let me get a swig of water here. I'm going to throw out a couple players. And do you buy, sell, or hold? So, buy, sell, or hold. Josh Jacobs. I'm going to buy his stock. Now, I know he started off the season gangbuster style, right? So, and then he kind of slowed down a little bit, tapered. But I will say this, with injuries, obviously, to A.J. Dillon, Marshawn Lloyd, he's definitely going to be the feature back in Green Bay. And I like his chances against the Rams today. So, I'm going to buy stock with Josh Jacobs. Because I feel like he's only going to get stronger as the season goes along. As they continue to wean Jordan Love back into. I know last week he kind of went off because they were down like 28 points, right? So they needed to throw. But I would expect Josh Jacobs to kind of get off a little bit here, especially this week and then moving into the future weeks. All right, T. Higgins. Now, slow start for him coming off an injury, but he is a heavy part of this particular Bengals pass offense. So I have to buy stock on him. I think he's only going to get better, especially as he reasserts himself into this offense. So I'm going to buy stock. And now, as far as the Bengals are concerned, they have a tough matchup today against the Ravens. So we'll talk about that later. But for sure, I think T. Higgins is a vital part of this offense. So you definitely need him to be that guy. And that's why I'm going to buy stock on him, especially if you're going to buy low so you can sell high later on. So I think he's he has a low point right now, but I'm going to buy it right now in the return of selling it later on. Hypothetically, I'm not really selling these guys, but you guys know what I mean. So I would definitely buy stock in in T. Higgins at this point. Now, some players I think you need to consider selling their stock on. Travis Etienne, like what's going on there? There's reports that he may be on the trade block too. We've seen the Bigsby guy, Tank Bigsby, take a lot of his carries starting last week. So what's going on with him? There's series where he's not even on the field. He's definitely, his production is starting to dwindle a little bit. So I would sell. And honestly, Jacksonville's not going anywhere no time soon. So it is what it is. So they're 0-4, if I'm not mistaken, right? The guys correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Year last year, but a guy like Bucky Irving now is starting to take his carries away, so his production is dropping down quite tremendously. So I definitely would sell my stock on Rachaad White right at this point because I feel like Bucky Irving is starting to emerge as the guy there for sure. So there you go. So then another guy in Texas, Dalton Schultz. Like, what happened to him, right? So with Nico Collins just emerging as one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League, and then they added Stephon Diggs. I think a lot of targets are being taken away from Dalton Schultz. I think he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, for sure. But his production is going to be limited at this point. So if I'm looking at him, I would have to definitely sell my stock on him. Another pass catcher, Garrett Wilson. Now, this can go either way, right? It all depends on how the Davante Adams thing shakes out. I'm going to say sell because right now their offense doesn't really look good. Now I know they just got a touchdown right here going into halftime, but I don't even know what his stat line is. But just the couple plays that I've seen, it just doesn't really look great. I don't think they don't have that chemistry, Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, that you would think a number one wide receiver and number one quarterback should. So I'm going to sell. However, though, if they do get Davante Adams, I want to buy this stock up as quick as possible. So could he be a hold too? Yeah, I guess he could. But right now, I don't know how viable that whole Davante Adams thing is going to happen. There's always talks of, oh, he's going to go to this team, he's going to go to that team, and then somehow, some way, some dark horse rushes in and gets him. So I'm going to sell my stock right now on Garrett Wilson. Now, as far as players to hold stock on, I'm going to start with Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears. Some of you might be thinking, well, dude, he's been sorry, but listen, he's not playing better than Jane Daniels, but Jane Daniels, I think, is in a better situation than Caleb Williams. He has an actual play caller that has been successful in the National Football League in Cliff Kingsbury right now. Now the Bears are dealing with Shane Waldron and their head coach Matt Eberflus. Now there are some negatives to Caleb Williams' play, obviously right now. So, but I'm still going to hold out a little bit on him, maybe about another week or so, and see what happens. So, but I'm not in love with him for sure. I think Jaden Daniels is by far been the best quarterback from this draft class. And the record speaks for itself. I know we still have a long ways to go, but definitely hold your stock on Caleb Williams until after this weekend. I'll let you guys know. Michael Pittman Jr. Indianapolis Colts finally woke up last week, right? But why? Because Joe Flacco took over the offense. Now, I don't know what the status for Anthony Richardson is today. If it's Joe Flacco moving forward, definitely buy this stock because I feel like Michael Pittman Jr. is a legitimate wide receiver. I just don't think his real true starting quarterback and Anthony Richardson just doesn't know how to get him the ball, unfortunately. So that's going to deter a lot of people from Michael Pittman Jr. just because of the quarterback play. Like I said, go to. Okay. Another guy I'm going to hold off on right now, or hold if I did have his stock, is Dontavian Wicks for the Green Bay Packers. Really had a great weekend last weekend. Christian Watson out to injury, or was out to injury. I think he's back now, right? Romeo Doubs, I believe, reportedly has been suspended this week due to conduct detrimental to the team. So you can see Wicks stock rising. So we'll see how they fare today. In LA against the Rams. I think he'll have a good time out there today. So, and he definitely has big play potential. So I like him, but I'm going to hold on him. I'm not going to say, oh my God, like go on and buy all his stock, because you don't know, right, what will happen with him. So, so those are those guys. So those are your buy, sell, and hold. Let me know what you guys think. Let's read some comments real quick before we move on. Said Ben says, I would buy Etienne today. Colts run defense is awful right now. Yeah, that's a good point. But I think Biggs is going to take the majority of those carries today. So there's something going on with Etienne for sure. Patrick says, Jags are 0-4 in desperation mode. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Richardson won't play today. Flacco set to start. Thanks. Appreciate that, Patrick. So, yeah, then I would buy Michael Pittman Jr. if you're going to do that. All right, so let's go into my power rankings for the week. Let me get this screenshot up there. All right, here we go. We got Minnesota right now at number 1. They've jumped over the let me get this comments off here for a second. They've jumped over the Chiefs. I still like the Chiefs, but they're kind of living on a prayer there every week. They're having to come down and win games rather closely. But nonetheless, I still like Minnesota. I mean, they've dominated Packers. They've dominated the Texans. They pretty much dominated the 49ers, and right now they're handling the Jets. Right now, as they're just coming back from halftime, they're going to start with the ball, and Sam Darnold's balling out, I think, still. And the defense, I mean, that's the showstopper right now is this defense, the way they get after with Brian Flores. So I got them at number 1. Now I got Kansas City; they're dropping because a lot of reasons, injuries. Rashee Rice is out. We already knew Pacheco was out, so they're having to deal with that. I think they'll be able to be okay and overcome a lot of this stuff, but I have to drop them slightly. But Travis Kelce and Kareem Hunt did step up last week, so that's positive if you're a Chiefs fan. But Patrick Mahomes too has been a little bit inconsistent this year, but I don't worry about that because they kind of do this almost every year the last couple of years. So, but they're still the Super Bowl champs, so I'm not gonna just knock them down all the way, and they're still undefeated. So I got them at number 2. Detroit Lions, pretty good showing last week. I guess, on Monday Night Football. Jared Goff had a flawless game, 18 for 18. The defense really showed a lot of strength there. Although they can be had, right? They do have lapses at some point, but overall, I thought the defense played pretty well. And late game execution for me is one of those key points for me. That's why I have Detroit up there so high. Recently, but it's a tough environment, of course. So I like them at number 3. I got the Buffalo Bills, even though they got mollywopped last week on Sunday Night Football. I think they'll bounce back today. I think they still have another tough game today. I don't think it'll be a game where they're going to get blown out. It'll be close, but their defense is struggling a little bit too, right? We saw that last week against the Baltimore Ravens, who just steamrolled them. I mean, offensively can be a little bit challenging because they're relying a lot on Josh Allen, like literally, like every play he has to be involved at some point, even in the run game. So, and then they're down Von Miller for a couple games due to suspension. So, a little concerning, but this team is coached well, so I do trust them. So I have them at number 4. Number 5 today. I really like the Texans still. I think they're one of the better teams in the AFC. I know they've struggled a little bit, especially with penalties. Last week they had a lot of penalties, but Nico Collins is definitely a emerging star in the National Football League. So I like that, and I love the way they fight back. They have a lot of late comeback from behind wins, especially in close games, and you want that kind of character trait within your team. So I do like that about them, but they definitely need to be more consistent. On capitalizing on their talent. They have some talented dudes, man. Hopefully they can get Joe Mixon back in the mix. Tank Dell, like where has he been? But you look across the board, Dalton Schultz, where is he at, right? So CJ Stroud is a very good quarterback. I love their talent, but they just need to improve their consistency on capitalizing in that. So I got them number 5. And number 6, the Baltimore Ravens. Listen, I know they mollywopped the Buffalo Bills, right? They're gaining momentum. I think after today, depending on how everything shakes out, I'm going to move this team up quite a bit, right? I think they're finding their stride. So I still have them at number 6. The defense and the offense have been executing pretty flawlessly after losing that game to the Raiders. They're kind of, if we're talking about stock again here, they're one of those teams you want to hold on a little bit, but they're trending in the right direction for sure. I really like that. And number 7, I got the Washington Commanders. Number 1 in the NFC East right now, right? Jaden Daniels is playing phenomenal. I had a guy in the comment section on one of my videos talking about it's hyperbole about including Jaden Daniels in the MVP conversation. Like, yeah, you can include him. It's okay. I know it's early, but we can talk about it, right? A little bit. I'm not saying he's the MVP today, but he's definitely playing better football than a lot of these quarterbacks right now. So he's talked about a lot. So I don't see how that's hyperbole, but maybe he doesn't know what hyperbole means. I don't know, but there's a big word. He used it. Haven't seen that word used a while outside of the media. So good for him for that guy. But anyway, and the defense is playing really good too. So overall, I got them trending up. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I know they lost the other night. I'd be wondering, why don't you have the Falcons on the list? Well, although Kirk Cousins did have a good night the other day, I don't trust them still at the end of the day. I still don't. I trust, for some reason, I trust Tampa more than Atlanta. I still think Tampa will win that division. But I don't trust Atlanta all the way yet, So there's some things they still struggle to score a little bit. Again, I get it. I know what they did the other night, but I'm just looking long term. So with that, and then I got the Packers at number 9. Listen, Jordan Love is returning. I know they lost last week, but I think they're on the uptake. I think they're going to get right today against the Rams. So I love what they're doing there. And then finally, rounding up my top 10, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, although the defense really struggled last week, they got an easy one this week. If you don't come out and dominate the Dallas Cowboys, who are literally the worst rushing defense team in all of football, if they're not one of the worst, they are the worst, right? So you got to go out there, let everybody know that you guys are still a team. Although Justin Fields isn't the quarterback that we expect, right? As far as from the quarterback position, he's getting the job done, right? And I foresee him being the quarterback there. there in the future. Oh, and I totally mixed this up. I skipped ahead. I flipped everybody here. So really, I had the Packers at number 10. So anyway, live TV, it is what it is. So, but there you have it. Those are my power rankings for the week. But no one's watching anyway, so we're all good. All right. Moving on to the picks and predictions for today. Before we wrap up this show, Jets are losing this game right now, I believe, right? Still, so I had Minnesota to win this game. So some people I did read that they actually did pick the Jets to win. I don't know how. I don't know how you do that, but it's still 17-7 right now. 13 minutes left in the third quarter, and the Jets are driving right now. So, all right, but I had the Vikings winning this game. All right, next game, Panthers at the Bears. This is an upset pick for me. Actually, let me change my graphics here. This is an upset pick for me. This is one of my clutch picks of the week. I have the Panthers going on the road beating the Bears. I love the Bears defense. If you watch my clutch pick of the week video earlier this week, I like their defense. It's just their offense is inconsistent, right? If they can score, then okay, they'll be very complimentary to their defense. But right now, I trust Carolina's offense a little bit more under Andy Dalton than I do the Bears. So I like the Panthers in the upset. Bills at Texans. This is going to be a close one. However, though, I do like the Texans to win at home. I think that Texans can exploit the injury-plagued Buffalo defense right now. So I expect CJ Stroud to do that this week. Dolphins at Patriots, another clutch picks of the week. This one's pretty simple to me. And listen, who's playing quarterback in Miami at this point? I don't even know. I think what's Jennifer Lopez's ex-husband, Mark Anthony, or one of her ex-husbands. Mark Anthony might have to come down and play. Defense. I like New England today. I do like New England today. And then Colts at Jaguars. This is This is a must-win game for Jacksonville. You have to win this game. You have to win this game. But I'm going to the Colts. I like the Colts on the road with Joe Flacco to get the job done. I think it's going to be a close divisional game, but I like the Colts there. Bengals versus the Ravens. I've seen a lot of people picking Bengals in the upset. I don't think so. I think the Ravens are still finding their groove. They're in their groove right now. They're just going to continue to fine-tune some things. I think Derrick Henry is going to have a phenomenal performance today against the Bengals. And this is a must-win too for the Bengals. I mean, listen, you can't do what they're doing at this point, right? So must win. Their backs are at the wall, but I don't think they can get it done now. I think the game will be close, but I like the Ravens in the end to win this game. All right, Browns at Commanders. I love the Commanders. I love what they're doing. The Browns are a crap show at this point. Deshaun Watson is literally he's stealing money right now, right? And you look at what the Browns did, man. Like, instead of keeping Baker Mayfield, they went and got Deshaun Watson, and then you look at what's happening with Baker Mayfield, who's thriving in Tampa Bay right now. So it doesn't look like they got the better end of that deal right now, and they're left holding a receipt or buyer's remorse because you're looking at Deshaun Watson. Now, it's not all his fault either, but he's the quarterback, so he's gonna foster most of the blame. So, anyway. Long story short, I like the Commanders. I think they're going to be able to get after Deshaun Watson. I think that Jaden Daniels is going to continue to play really top-tier, high-level football. I love their offense. It is simple and basic, but sometimes that's okay too. So I do like that. All right. Moving on, we got the 49ers taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have suffered a couple losses at home, Detroit and then Washington last week. Now they go on the road to San Francisco, a team that they kind of do play relatively close every now and then. At the end of the day, I just think the San Francisco 49ers need to win this game as well to kind of stay in the hunt there in the NFC, although they're suffering a lot of injuries as well. But I do like the San Francisco 49ers over the Cardinals in a close one. All right, Raiders on the road to Mile High to take on the Denver Broncos. Broncos defense is legit. They're one of the top 3 defenses overall in the National Football League, and that's a good matchup for them because you have one of the worst offenses coming into your city in Las Vegas. Raiders wouldn't probably without Davante Adams. So I think Max Crosby is a go, but Bo Nix is steadily getting a little bit better. Now, I'm not going to say, oh my God, he's just looking tremendous, but growing pains. But I like the Broncos at home mainly because of the defense. Mainly just week. I think the Packers should have their way against the depleted Rams roster. I mean, that's what we're saying literally every week with this team is how depleted they are. And I think that's going to bode well for the Green Bay Packers to get Jordan Love his first win of the season and move on and get back home to Green Bay. All right, Giants at Seahawks. Seahawks, they lost. Was it this past week Monday? But listen, they showed some fight. I'm not concerned about this team. I think this is still a solid team. It's just a tough matchup to go on the road to Detroit. But they did show some fight in the end. They kind of made that game a little bit more sporting. The Giants probably without Malik Neighbors today, so I like the Seahawks' chances at home against the New York Giants. All right, Sunday Night Football. Cowboys at Steelers. Two storied franchises. But the Cowboys are just they're shit. I mean, Micah Parsons is out. DeMarcus Lawrence is out. Those are your two best run players, right? Arguably, right? Because Micah Parsons is really not great at the run, but two of your best edge rushers are gone. You can't stop the run. Now, I know the Steelers they have their own injuries as well on the offensive line, but it doesn't compare to the problems that are on the defense for the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys defense has been disappointing. Nonetheless, this season. So, is it all Zimmerman's fault? Not all of it, but he doesn't have the right personnel. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, how do they fix it? You really can't. They are what they are. They're not going to go out and they have to make trades, but they don't have the capital to do so. So I like the Steelers to win this game and beat down the Cowboys, honestly. And I feel bad for Dak because he's going to have to do it all on his own. Because they really haven't set this guy. They haven't set him up to win. I mean, they signed CD. Brandon Cooks is out. Now, this kid, Ryan Flannery, check him out today. I think he's a really good player. I think he brings another dynamic to their offense, but I don't think it'll be enough. But I like the Steelers at home. And then for Monday night to round it out, we got the Saints at the Chiefs. This is a little fun game, right? I think the Chiefs will be able to slow down the run there for the Saints, but I expect this to kind of go back and forth a little bit. Is whoever has the ball last will probably end up winning this game. But I do like the Chiefs to hang on close again and show that championship medal in winning the game against the Saints. But I think it'll be close. But I like the Chiefs there. All right. Whew, man, I'm steady. I'm holding strong, man. My voice is going. But anyway, just to recap my clutch picks of the week, we got the Patriots over the Dolphins, Panthers in an upset special over the Chicago Bears, the Houston Texans to win at home over the Buffalo Bills, and I like the Packers to stomp out the LA Rams. So there you have it. Those are my picks of the week. Write them down, do something with them. Maybe you'll win some money if you're placing some bets. So that's what. A lot of you guys want to get back and watch the Minnesota Jets game, so I will let you guys get back to that and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. So make sure you guys check out my Nukes Man next video dropping on Wednesday for my NFL matchups, man. Make sure you head over to the Grid Network, subscribe, like, and comment, man. It really helps our numbers out, helps me out as well too. So I appreciate you guys. So that's all I got for today, man. Appreciate you guys for stopping in. Everyone that was in the chat, in the comment section, appreciate you guys as usual. See you guys Wednesday. Until next week on NFL Sunday Wake Up. Excuse me, not Wednesday. Next week Sunday, I'll see you guys. So that's all I got. You guys have a good weekend. Peace.